Welcome everyone to this first implementation webinar of the Finnish-Estonian long-term transmission rights. This webinar is organized by Elering and Fingrid. My name is Erkki Sapp and I am head of Energy Market Department at Elering. I'm happy that all of you were able to join. This webinar is intended to be a sort of an introduction to the topic of long-term transmission rights, as this is a new thing on the border of Finland and Estonia, and it's a new thing for Finnish and most of the Nordic market participants. The meeting is recorded and later on put on the internet so that people who were not able to join could also see it. And now I'll move to today's agenda. As a first topic, I will give word to Juha Hiekala from Fingrid for welcoming words. Then Karin-Maria Lehtmets from Estonian Competition Authority will give an overview and reasoning from the national regulators' side why the long-term transmission rights are implemented on the Estonian border. Then I will give some background on the long-term transmission rights and some basic economical logic for these. Then we will hear from Marko Allikson from Baltic Energy Partners regarding the market participant experience regarding the long-term transmission rights and in particular the financial transmission rights on the Estonian-Latvian border. Then we will have a slot for questions and discussion, and then finally we will introduce TSO's next steps. I suggest that questions and comments could be put into the chat or shared with us by raising the hand. And I suggest we do the questions and answers after each of the presentations. So please do not hesitate to ask questions and provide your comments to the presentations. And now I would then go to the first agenda topic and give word to Juha for the welcoming words from your side.
Yes, thank you, Erkki. Yes, welcome also on behalf of Fingrid, and I'm very happy we have today this webinar. Financial transmission rights are not familiar in Finland, but I even might say that they are not familiar in the Nordic markets at all. We really need more information. And here it's happy to have this possibility to hear what are the Baltic experience about FTRs. Here I must also admit.
Ei ole promising.
Here I must also admit that earlier I thought that the system price and EPADs would be the solution. However, during the last years, we have got a lot of feedback from the Finnish market participants, and the message has been very clear. The solution based on system price and EPADs are not enough. Something else is also needed. We have had also in Finland an ongoing discussion about the relevance of the system price, but let's see I think the discussion is not so relevant, especially for the TSO. It's the most important is where the market participants want to make trade. But we are targeting to the common European market, and the new logical solution, the add-on to the Baltic Sea market, I think would be the FTRs. Actually, FTRs are a part of the European target model that has been the missing link in the Nordic countries. And in Finland, Fingrid is currently having an ongoing discussion, and we are targeting to have FTRs both at the Estonian and the Swedish border. And now, with these words, I leave the floor to our Estonian colleagues, and we are very interested to hear what are your experience about the FTRs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Juha. And as the next presentation, I will give word to Karin-Maria from Estonian Competition Authority on the overview and reasoning of the implementation of the long-term transmission rights. Karin-Maria, I can show your slides, or you can show them yourself.
Thank you, Erkki. It would be good if you could show the slides.
Okay.
So, hello to all. I am Karin Lehtmets from Estonian NRA, and I will give a short overview about the reasoning and background of the NRA's Finland, both the Finland and Estonian NRA's decision regarding the issuing of LTTRs in Finnish-Estonian border. So first, about the regulatory background, we can go to the next slide. Erkki, yes, thank you. So about the regulatory background, Article 30 from Forward Capacity Allocation Guideline foresees that NRAs should assess the sufficiency of existing hedging opportunities in a bidding zone, and this assessment should be done at least every 4 years. And it should be based on main 2 aspects. First, consultation with market participants about their needs, and second, evaluation of existing hedging products and existing market opportunities. And in case the assessment shows that there are not sufficient hedging opportunities, it is NRA's responsibility to have coordinated decisions for bidding zone border to issue LTTRs on this border, or to make sure that other long-term cross-zonal hedging products are made available in the bidding zone. So let's go to the assessment process that was done last year. As a first part, we had the numerical analysis regarding the existing hedging products on the market. This analysis was done commonly in Baltic Finland, and we had an external consultant THEMA here. So I will call it a THEMA analysis. This analysis was done in the beginning of 2021, and In March, we had also a market consultation about the analysis results. And as a second part of the assessment process, we had separate market consultations. In Estonia and Latvia, we had a common consultation with market participants about their needs. It was held in October-November 2020, and Finland consultation was held in January-February 2021. And based on the assessment process, based on these two steps, in May 2021, Finland and Estonian NRAs had bilateral agreement that LTTRs should be implemented in the Estonian-Finland border. And the respective national decisions were held in June 2021. So let's go and see the exact reasoning why we came to this conclusion. On next slide, I will speak about the thema analysis. I also put here the links, so if you get the slides later on and want to get to know the analysis results in more detail, there is possibility to reach the analysis. But basically, what was done regarding this analysis, we looked the EPADS data of Baltic and Finland of last 8 years period, and also especially the latest trends. These were also evaluated, and different parameters were looked. And on next slide, we can go into the results of these parameters evaluation. Can we go to next slide, please? Thank you. And what we see here is that most of the parameters, what was evaluated, showed for Riga EPAD and for Tallinn EPAD that the liquidity is not good. And also there came up that the transaction costs are quite high. And for Tallinn EPADs, it's very high. We can see it up from bid-ask spread parameter. And also it came out that the correlation with the system price is not very good regarding Riga and Tallinn EPADs, and also the correlation with Finland was weakened in recent years from 2019. However, the correlation between Baltics was strengthened. Regarding Helsinki EPAD, the results were much better, fortunately, and there was quite good liquidity shown. So basically, yes, this is the results of the thema analysis regarding the existing market hedging opportunities. And now we can go to the second assessment step, what was the market participants consultation results. Basically what market indicated about their needs and wishes. And from Estonia-Latvia consultation, the indications for market participants was that there are not enough hedging opportunities in Baltics. Also, it was very clearly pointed out that the main issue on the market is that the bottleneck has moved to Finland-Estonia border, previously it was in Estonia-Latvia border. And as the bottleneck moved to Finland-Estonia border, the access to the Nordic EPADS market, especially to Finnish EPADS market, is not enough anymore. And at the same time, Baltic EPADS itself are not liquid enough for hedging. And this is also something that we saw from the FIEE results. Also, it was asked about the continuous need for Estonia-Latvia LTTRs, and market indicated that at least until synchronization, these LTTRs are still continuously needed. From Finland consultation, also most of the responses indicated that there are some kind of issues in the hedging opportunities, that it is not perfect. And it was also brought out that the hedging opportunities had deteriorated. This was mainly brought out by the Estonian market participants who also participated in Finland consultation. That it is hard to get the sufficient hedge now as the bottleneck is in Finland-Estonia border. So as a result of these two assessment steps, as I already mentioned, NRAs took the decisions that hedging opportunities are insufficient in Finland and Estonia, bidding zones regarding Finnish-Estonian border, and therefore requested TSOs to issue LTTRs on Finnish-Estonian border. And now how the LTTRs implementation should go on. Basically, TSOs should develop according Article 31 FCA, the proposal for the regional design of LTTRs, and this design should be approved by NRAs. However, in autumn 2021, TSOs indicated NRAs that there have emerged some issues regarding the implementation process. And as a result, NRAs asked ACER opinion on these issues. We sent this letter to ACER on November 2021, and we received the ACER opinion quite recently, in the beginning of March. So the issues that emerged and regarding what we asked ACER guidance, firstly is that Fingrid is not part of several pan-European methodologies that are precondition for LTTR's implementation. But ACER suggested here that Fingrid should be added. The process could be that in all TSO methodologies, all TSOs propose the change to ACER, and ACER makes the decision. And also what ACER indicated here is the possibility to use a simplified process to keep the process as quick as possible. So mainly that the only addition that should be done to these methodologies is Fingrid to be added. Then there was also a question about the HAR changes needed. And here ACER suggested that the changes can be done in HAR regional appendix, so that CCR TSOs propose the changes and respective NRAs make the decision. And then as a third issue, there is that FCA Article 16 methodology, what is regarding cross-zonal capacity splitting for LTTRs, is not implemented in Baltics, and it cannot be implemented before the synchronization from Russia. But here a suggestion was that it is perfectly okay to use bilaterally agreed approach by DSOs and have here also a regulatory oversight. So basically, we got from Acer opinion a pretty good roadmap how to go ahead with these issues emerged. And now it is, I would say that the main task force is now on DSO side to develop the relevant proposals. And yes, I hope that we could be with the process as time efficient as possible, but I wouldn't go to the specific timeline here. I think DSOs will present it on during today's discussion. So thank you. This is all from regulators' side. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Erkki, I think you're muted.
Sorry. Thank you, Karin. Are there any questions to Karin's presentation? Any questions, comments? If not, then thank you, Karin, and we can move forward with the agenda, and probably questions may arise later on. So then, as the next topic, I would give some background and economical basics of the long-term transmission rights. Yeah, so and I would start with the legislation in a way that the long-term transmission rights are issued according to the forward capacity allocation guideline. This guideline has been in force for more than 5 years. There's some experience with it across Europe. However, forward capacity allocation guideline only deals with one part of the electricity market and one part of also the forward markets. And the other forward market products or futures products, such as electricity futures and EPADs, are covered by the financial regulations such as MiFID and MiFIR and so on. So the hedging tools available to us are then the transmission rights, forward markets with the futures and with the futures in Europe, in continental Europe and Nordic markets, and also some so-called in-between products such as EPADs, PPAs, and futures of other commodities. From these, then only the transmission rights are covered by the forward capacity allocation guideline, and these transmission rights are auctioned on a pan-European platform by Joint Allocation Office, a sort of dedicated company. And so these transmission rights are typically issued by the transmission owners, so transmission system operators, and these give a right or an obligation regarding the transmission interconnector. So they are mimic to smaller or larger extent ownership of transmission capacity. The forward markets are probably known to all the participants. These are in Nordics. These are the futures provided by Nasdaq Commodities, which is linked to the Nordic system price, while in continental Europe these are usually linked to the spot price of a particular bidding zone. So these are the main tools available for hedging around Europe. And then the risks that market participants face are different, but the most widespread ones are the volume risk and different kinds of price risks. So they may be short-term price risks, they may be long-term price risks, and they may be locational price risks, so-called cross-border price risks. And these are similar to generators, consumers, and suppliers, traders. The long-term transmission rights are meant to first and foremost solve the cross-border price risk. However, together with other financial products such as futures and EPADs, they may be able to solve different price risks. So many of these price risks can be hedged in case there's an efficient liquid local forward market, or there's an access to a liquid forward market and the local price is well correlated with the reference zone or the reference price. However, when this correlation is low, then the cross-border risk is higher and would need to be hedged, and long-term transmission rights are a hedging tool for this purpose. So where does this some examples on where does this cross-border risk arise? So this can happen with supplier or generator if it operates in one market area and has a supply contract in another market area. It may happen if or there may be cross-border price risk for a generator who is hedging local generation by selling a forward with a reference to another price area, and there is no good correlation with the local price area. The same may happen with supplier, and also consumer who wants to hedge their energy costs by purchasing a futures contract with a reference price. However, the reference price may not be well correlated with the local electricity price. So a reference price in this example may be in Nordic's case, maybe the system price futures. So even if even if there are local hedging products available, such as in the case of Baltic countries, the products may not be maybe not liquid enough to enable a good hedge, as was described by Karin in the TEMA analysis. So in order to hedge this cross-border risk, forward capacity allocation establishes three kinds of long-term transmission rights. These are physical transmission rights and two types of financial transmission rights. The financial transmission rights options and financial transmission rights obligations. So the physical transmission right, most out of these three resembles actual ownership of transmission capacity. So the holder of this PTR has the right to use the interconnector to the extent of their physical transmission right. However, it's also in the regulation that that in a case if a holder of PTR does not use it, then it's the use it or sell it principle is used, so that the non-nominated capacity will automatically go to the day-ahead market for allocation, and the holder of the physical transmission right shall be remunerated based on the price spread on the day-ahead market. So we will get there, but then this non-nominated physical transmission right acts as a financial transmission right option. So the financial transmission right also tries to mimic the physical transmission rights. However, it does it in the extent of financial transactions, and there is no physical nomination of the of electricity. So the owner of the or holder of the financial transmission right is cash settled based on the price spread between the two price areas between which this FTR has been issued. So the FTR gives the right to collect the revenue generated by this interconnector to the extent of the megawatts held by the FTR owner, and the FTR owner then receives the price spread between the two price areas, but only to the extent when the price spread is positive or in the certain direction. And as mentioned, financial transmission rights options act the same way as physical transmission rights in case they are non-nominated and the use it or sell it principle is used. And as mentioned, financial transmission rights do not need to be nominated. The financial transmission rights obligations are similar to the options. However, they work in both directions. So in case the price spread is in the other direction, then the holder of the FTR obligation needs to pay towards the issuer of the financial transmission rights, which is usually then the transmission system operator. So out of these, we the most popular one and also the one that the Delering and Fingrid are considering on the Estonian-Finnish border is the FTR option. And so this is the one that is most likely, or which we are intending to introduce on this border. And then all of these long-term transmission rights enable to hedge the cross-border risk for the market participants. The long-term transmission rights are quite widespread across Europe. Basically, there's no long-term transmission rights only in Nordics. Most of the other borders have either financial transmission rights or physical transmission rights. And it's probably useful to note that large part or most of the physical transmission rights are also not nominated, so they act as financial transmission rights. So the Europe is moving towards financial transmission rights on the different borders of the bidding zones. So now I would move to a worked example on how the FTRs would work, or how a FTR option works. And for this example, let's assume we are a generator in a market area A, and we have a long-term contract, supply contract in a market B. And let's assume we sold the supply contract at the price 4 units higher than our generation costs. And then if this market A and market B would be in the same price zone, so there wouldn't be any price difference between these two areas, then our profit from this transaction, this supply contract, would be 4 all the time. However, due to the fact that we are in our generation and our supply contract are in different market areas, we have the cross-border risk, meaning that we have the risk that the prices between the two areas are different. And our outcome from this deal depends heavily on the price difference between market A and market B, meaning that we essentially need to sell our generation in market A and buy in market B for our supply contract. And therefore, if we are a positive outcome for us would be that we sell at high price in market area A and buy at a low price in market area B, so that in essence that the price difference between market B and market A would be negative. Then our profit would be the price difference plus the supply contract 4 units, and our expected profit would be the sum of these. However, if the area prices are switched, so that the market B is now more expensive, so we need to sell in a cheap market area A and buy in a more expensive market area B, then it's a worse situation for us, and a break-even point would be for us when the price difference between A and B would be 4 units. Then we would be in a break-even point, and in cases where the price difference is even higher, let's say 5, 6, or 7, then we are starting to get a loss from this supply contract due to the price difference. Now enter the financial transmission right options, and these act as a hedge. So let's assume that the current market expectation of the price difference is 2 units. So market expects that the price in area B is 2 units higher than in market area A. Then we are able to buy this FTR option at the cost of 2, and this results us to a a loss of 2 units in the cases when the price is price between the two areas is actually price difference is actually negative or up until 2 units. However, with higher prices than or essentially with a positive price difference. So when price in price area B is higher than in price area A, we start to collect the price difference, the actual price difference. So, and if we put together these our position from the first slide and this hedge or this FTR option, then we can see that putting this together will enable us to fix our or hedge our price risks, meaning that even in case when we would need to buy from a expensive price area B and sell in a cheap market area A, our profit from the supply contract would still be fixed at 2 units, as we have paid for as we have sold the supply at the profit of 4 units and paid 2 units for this insurance or hedge. And in case of the FTR options, then the positive side profit is unlimited. So if the price difference is on the other way, then our profit increases as the price difference increases. However, our losses are limited, so we have fixed our profit at least at the size of 2 units. So as a conclusion from this worked example, this FTR option is a hedging tool for the generator to limit its losses and fix its profit from a supply contract. We can see that, or this is sort of a simple example, and just looking at a cross-border risk. However, the FTR options work quite well together with other forward products such as futures and EPADs. And it's important to note that a counterparty to these contracts would be transmission system operator, so the counterparty risk would be relatively low. And then some words about the auction process. So as mentioned earlier, then these auctions are made centrally in a European platform called Single Allocation Platform by Joint Allocation Office, and the basic setup is that transmission system operators, starting with a yearly product, will provide the amount of auctioned financial transmission rights to the Single Allocation Platform. The Single Allocation Platform notifies market participants on this auction and the available capacity on the auction, and then the market participants will make a bid for this capacity based on how much this is worth for them. And then, depending on this is done so the auction is marginal pricing auction. So the marginal price will be the price at which the transmission rights will be settled. And then from this auction, the market participants who sort of win on the auction receive this this transmission right. The same happens with the monthly auctions, where monthly auctions are run closer to the month of delivery. And then during the day-ahead market coupling, then based on the price differences on this particular border, then the transmission system operator pays for the FTRs to the market participants through single allocation platform. And this is how the FTR auctions and settlement work on a high level. Okay, that's all from my side on the background and simple economics of the financial transmission rights. I hope I have been able to explain it a little bit. So are there any questions, comments to my presentation? Right now I don't see any comments in the chat nor any hands raised. Okay, so then we can now move to the next presentation, which is
there was Erkki, there was a question in the chat.
Sorry, I missed it. Does JAO take care of all the reporting responsibility? So I think so. JAO reports or publishes the results of the auctions. Maybe Airi can comment on any other reporting or which types of reporting responsibility do you have in mind?
This is probably a question on the remit reporting. Yes, the FTRs do not need to be reported under EMIR, only under remit, and JAO is offering the remit reporting also.
Okay, thank you for the question and answer. Any other?
Maybe one thing that I would like to point out that wasn't mentioned, that there is also a secondary trading possible with FTRs and PTRs. So there is a possibility to resell products you have bought, but in that case you have to find your own counterparty and just inform the JAO on the resell. Or the second possibility is to return the products bought, but of course there are some details you have to follow, and on those details we will say a bit more on our next webinars. But yeah, there is important to know that there is a secondary market available.
So there's another question on the payment procedure. So are the auction results payable towards a single allocation platform and transmission system operators right away after the auction, or are they linked to the delivery? Are they paid when delivered? and this is in line with the. So in cases, this is important in case if the auction price is very high. So I think that recalling our invoicing, I think we are receiving the invoice on the deliveries, but I'm not sure if joint allocation platform or single or if joint allocation office asks some sort of a collateral probably, and if they collect the auction prices right away. I assume not. So I assume the yearly product price is not paid upfront, but on delivery. Airi may comment this.
It is settled monthly. So basically, before the month begins, you get the invoice for the products you have for the next month. So if you have a yearly product for next month, you have to pay only for that month. And after the period ends, you get the settlement, the remuneration, or if the price spread was lower than the price paid for the FTR in the auction, you would get none. So it's on a monthly basis. And yes, Joao will ask for a collateral. And on that, we will also give more detailed explanation on next webinars. Information is also available already now on Joao platform webpage.
Okay, there are some more questions, but I will give word to Karin for a comment or question.
Thank you. I wanted to comment to come back to this remit reporting and regarding secondary allocation. According to information on your webpage, Joao is not doing this reporting regarding secondary allocation if there is trading between market participants, and then market participants are itself responsible to make the remit reporting. Just a small addition.
Okay, thanks, Karin. Then there's a question: what is the money flow to and from TSOs in I guess in line with the auctions of FTRs? So in a simple way, the TSOs are receiving this auction price. So in the calculation example we had, the TSOs will receive these 2 units, and will pay out then the price difference between the two areas, depending on the direction. So if the direction is in case of this example, if the direction is positive, then we will pay out bottleneck income in that direction. If it's negative, then we will pay out nothing. Then there's the question of, does the market participant need to have a license or qualification to participate in the auctions? I think one needs to have a contract with the joint allocation office and be a member of the single allocation platform to participate. There shouldn't be any more license or qualification needs. And also, yeah, of course, there's some, depending on the sizes of the positions, there are some collateral requirements. Okay, if I don't see any other hands or questions, then I guess we can move on to the next presentation, which is from Marko from Baltic Energy Partners. And this is on the experience of the market participant from using of long-term transmission rights, and mainly on the Estonian-Latvian border then. Hello, Marko. Would you like to show your slides yourself, or?
You can share them. It's okay.
Okay, then please one moment. I will put them in front of us. So let me know if you see them.
Yes. Maybe try next page.
In screen.
Okay.
Please, floor is yours.
Yes. Maybe you take the next slide then. Just quite shortly, I just try to summarize what we did, or we have been doing with these long-term transmission rights, and what we see is the reason to use the FTRs between Finland and Estonia. And I tried to make it quite simple, so not to go into very much details and not to reveal any big business secrets or something like this, but it's all rather general information. First of all, I think there is actually quite a number of Nordic market participants who are using today FTRs between Estonia and Latvia. So it's not only Baltics market participants, but actually I think there's much more from the Nordics than from the Baltics. I mean, if you look at those Java auctions, then in the latest auctions you see roughly 20 participants. So actually Nordic market players are familiar with FTRs, at least some of them, and so I think it's not so unknown product at all. And here's just a picture of why this FTR was really needed in between Estonia and Latvia, and why it now becomes to be a necessity between Estonia and Finland. So this green line is the rolling, let's say, 12-month price difference between the Estonia and Latvia. And also those red columns, those are monthly price differences between Estonia and Latvia. And as you can see, basically up to the end of year 2019, there was a reasonable price difference, but there was no good way to hedge it, and except this FTR. And as you can see, I mean, there are some months where the price difference can be up to 10 euros and or was up to 10 euros, and there was some months where the price difference was basically zero. But if you want to kind of certainty on the price difference, so then this FTR was the product really to use. And then in the end of 2019, basically when the capacity between Estonia and Latvia became sufficient, the price difference almost kind of disappeared, and it was gone the whole year 2020 and most of the year 2021 also. Now in the second part of 2021, we see the price difference to Latvia coming back again, and I mean, looking at the March right now, I mean, the price difference is likely getting close to 20 euros. So there's reason to hedge those positions if you try to kind of sell on both sides of the Estonian-Latvian border, and if you might have initial hedges on one country only. But much more dramatical in this picture is the price difference between Estonia and Finland, and those blue columns. I mean, as you can see, I mean, last year they were up to 40, but actually this month it's going to be much more. So probably thanks to the Olkiluoto new nuclear power plant running, and it seems that the price differences are really big, and the essence why these FTRs are actually necessary, I mean, really has been that in the whole region, in the Baltics, there's really no natural long position trader who has kind of a lot of excess and needs to sell. Because most of the market players, they are rather, I would say, short. In the Baltics, we are buying almost 1,000 megawatts every hour, roughly in average. And also even the smaller renewable producers, these support systems are not motivating them to try to speculate fixing or with the fixing, but rather be on the spot market. And that means that it's quite difficult to find natural counterparties for fixing the prices and making the hedges. So I mean, FTR really between Estonia and Latvia now helps to kind of a bit manage risks between Estonia and Latvia, but at least in my eyes, after this end of year 2019, I mean, the much bigger problem is actually that we have a big price difference with Helsinki, and earlier you could hedge in the Baltics in a way that you bought some Finnish price product and you basically assumed that the price is the same, and that was basically correct until let's say spring 2019, and after that this is not correct. The price difference of Estonia and Finland can be quite big, and it is non-manageable. So even if we can in the Baltics manage now the price difference between Estonia and Latvia, we cannot manage the price difference with Finland. And as Estonia and Latvia are really not liquid, so we have to try to use some more liquid markets, hopefully Finland, but it's not really possible to use Finland until we have actually FTR as a product to be able to use it. So all in all, these kind of FTRs, they would actually bring liquidity to the market, and they would bring liquidity to Estonia, Latvia, also Lithuania. I mean, there are some price differences to Lithuania also, but also to Finland, because there is another product to trade, and the Baltics market players would become, I would say, again much more active maybe in Finland, trying to hedge their positions in Finland and then adding the FTRs on the top of the Finnish prices. So this is kind of a background, and I mean, as these price differences are becoming more and more drastic, it's really obvious that you cannot just say that let's buy at the Helsinki price and hope that the price difference to Estonia is not very big. I mean, it can be enormously big, and furthermore, it can be extremely volatile. I mean, if you look at this, there was a rather small difference. I think was it here in December, but now quite big difference months before and afterwards. So you cannot really predict it either. So it's quite difficult to kind of predict what is the future, and this FTR is just a product to give a peace of mind. Maybe you show the next page, Erkki. Yeah. So this is a picture of last year. This blue columns, it's the Nord Pool price difference between Estonia and Latvia, and orange, all they're together, Ukrainian colors, of course. But this orange is the PTR value for that particular month if you would have bought PTR. And as you can see, in the beginning of the year, the PTR was always kind of more expensive than the price difference. But then in the second part of the year, if you had bought the FTR before the month, you could win quite a lot because it was quite a good hedge. Because the actual price difference afterwards appeared to be much larger, and this green is basically the value in euros of this FTRs on the top of basically what was paid, and of course it's good that market has a mechanism at least to deal with this kind of price difference. I guess the main thing here is that it's really difficult, to see ahead in terms of those limitations. Everything is normal in the UMMs and you could read them, etc. But then again, something suddenly happens and the real life becomes quite different. And it's very much in the Baltics. So because we have several links to other areas, to Sweden, to Poland, I mean, Finland, of course, there are changes happening with Russian connection and changes within the country. And for example, if you are looking right now to Estonian and Latvian price difference, then this month seems to be very high. We see that there's a lot of maintenance coming in the summer. So it means that capacity between Estonia and Latvia is rather or relatively smaller than today. So we can expect there will be price difference. And of course, this FTR will be worth more and giving you an hedge in these market situations. And then if you look at the year 2023, then there seems to be much more capacity available between Estonia and Latvia, and you could expect that prices probably will fall. And that means that if by that time we will have also FTR between Finland and Estonia, then you could actually hedge Estonia and Latvia quite easily with this product. I mean, this is what you can see from the market. Maybe we'll show the next one. So here I just put up some of the strategies. So, for example, from the Finnish market point of view, that why to use these FTRs. I mean, I guess we have some, or actually several different Finnish customers, and in the discussions with them, those kind of things come out. I mean, first of all, there is basically just a need to hedge positions in the Baltics. I mean, a lot of also Finnish producers or other market participants, they have positions in the Baltics somewhere, and then they need to hedge or have some price fixes. And one thing is to ask price fix from suppliers here locally. Another thing is to deal with financial products. And basically, I mean, if you purchase the system price, Helsinki area price, and the FTR from Finland to Estonia, I mean, essentially you get actually Estonian price, and that means that you could hedge it because then in Finland you could really find a price for, let's say, next year or next quarter or maybe next whatever time period. But it's much more difficult to find as competitive pricing just within the Baltics. So that is one thing. So if we have something in Finland, in the Baltics, consuming electricity and you want to hedge the price risk, I mean, of course, this FTR is required. Second, we have at least some of the Finnish customers who are leveraging their Finnish consumption hedges to the Baltics portfolios. It means that they have hedges, they might have even some excess hedges, and they would like to kind of hedge the positions in the Baltics, and they would just buy on the top of what they have FTR, and essentially they hedge the price in Estonia. So I mean, this is another kind of typical strategy what to do, and of course it is also a speculative trading vehicle, because I mean, if you're looking right now, for example, these 20 participants for monthly products, I mean, it's quite highly likely that all of them don't have positions in Estonia and in Latvia, for example, today, but they would just like to trade this product and bet on that the actual outcome of the FTR or the price difference will be higher than the FTR they have bought. So because the transaction to buy the FTR is basically, from Finnish perspective, the same as selling Helsinki EPAD and buying the Tallinn EPAD, and as the counterparty is TSO, so it's very good counterparty also. So it's quite a low risk at least from the transaction making point of view. Another thing is to assess whether this price was correct or whether you actually win or lose with this trade. But yes, this is also another aspect. And as I said, I mean, additional liquidity to Finland comes from that point of view, that Baltics players would come to Finland to buy more Finnish product, Finnish area price, because they need it to further hedge the Baltics position. So this is the additional liquidity that would come from that, and so not only into the Baltics but actually also to the Finnish EPAD at least itself. And may I have a last picture, but in reality, everything is it's not so easy always to make it right. First of all, of course, always these UMMs, they show the maintenance plans, limitations, etc. For the product duration at the time of the bidding. But you know, things can happen. Something changes. Some power plant trips off, and something else could happen, and so it's hard to kind of predict everything, and therefore you know, it's really a security what you get from FTR. So, but from the pricing point of view, it's therefore it is not quite easy. Then the other big issue really typically is that the availability of the right products in sufficient amount and capacity, because let's say that the FTRs are normally a yearly product, and there's a quarterly product and a monthly product. But then this yearly product comes to sales, let's say, in the end of November. But what if you would like to hedge your positions already, you know, right now for the next year? You do not have FTR auction, and you cannot do it. So you can only kind of bet on the price difference in the end of the year. So those decisions in terms of time do not always match. So it's something to deal with. And of course, I mean, yearly products we are talking about normally. I mean, so far, at least with Latvia, we have had 1 year. But you know, maybe you need to hedge it for 2 years, 3 years, or even more. And of course, so such products, at least between Estonia and Latvia, do not exist today. But you know, there could be a demand for also these type of products. And then the products of quarterly and monthly. It's again, I mean, they give the trading opportunity certainly, but they are maybe not so good products for let's say consumers to make yearly contracts or something like this. But they are interesting products more for the training purposes within the year. And also, of course, capacities of those products are different. So therefore, there's always a question. So what's available, and is there a right amount of yearly product or right amount of quarterly product or right amount of monthly product put into the auction? And I think these are the things to be discussed when we are talking about Finnish, Estonian FTR. Then very practical challenge always comes with this YAO auction platform is the you know, time to set up. I mean, our experience shows it unfortunately you still have to deal with it in terms of months. It's not weeks or days normally, and even the collaterals they might take time. So it's better to do everything early and prepare everything early if we have, for example, some FTR auction in the end of this year in November. So it's better to, you know, start at least beginning of September at least, so just to be sure you are fine in the right time to be able to make actually some trades at this YAO. And yes, and also the timing of auctions versus this commitments needed. That there are certain times when or days when the auctions happen, and as I said, that you know, those might not be exactly the days when you need let's say, next month product or quarter product. But on the other hand, it gives the opportunity that, for example, to agree with some customer that, okay, you get finished price plus the FTR auction price in the Baltics, and you just participate in the auction and you get the price when you get it. There's certain risk in there, but it's still possible to manage it somehow. But it's it can be always not ideal, but it's something to deal with. And yes, and of course, I mean, if you are just looking at the latest auctions in between Estonia and Latvia, so for example, the ones who bought March product between Estonia and Latvia, they are winning a lot. The hedge is worth a lot because it seems to be that the price difference comes rather closer to 20 euros than below euro, as was the price of FTR. So yeah, and you can see who's actually participating in these auctions. I mean, as I said, in the last auctions there were roughly 20 participants. Normally about 10 of them win some capacity, and based on these 8 codes, you can always find who are there. So and you can find also Nordic counterparties there, so who have experience and have been doing it earlier. Probably they will be doing it immediately when the FTR between Finland and the Baltics will be in place. That's all I had to say. So I don't know how did I use my time, but yes, I have nothing more to. At least okay. I didn't plan to add. Yeah.
Thank you, Marko. So I think now we have this dedicated time for questions and discussion. We already have, I think, 2 questions for probably these are directed to Marko. So the first one is related to I think one figure you showed in the presentation regarding PTR prices and FTR prices. Maybe you are, I believe it's perhaps this figure.
Okay, yeah, I write here PTR. It's FTR. Sorry, it's FTR. It's basically the blue is price difference of Nord Pool price areas, and this PTR is actually this FTR auction price, and that means the FTR auction price you do before the month. In the auction, you get the result, you get some number, and then after the month of delivery, you know what was the actual price difference.
And the green is then
the green is basically the price difference what you get between the FTR and the Nord Pool price. So between the FTR and the actual Nord Pool price, yes. So additional money which you would have actually lost if you would not have been buying the FTR.
Okay, thanks. Then there's a question from Mikko. If there are restrictions in physical transmission lines, like unplanned outages, will it reduce the amount of capacity offered to the auctions? Will it have any other effect? So generally, I will try to answer this. So generally, the capacity to auction is given beforehand, and therefore any known outages and maintenances are taken into account by the transmission system operators providing the FTR capacity, and then usually the yearly capacity is related to the available capacity throughout the year, and then a shorter term product like monthly product will take into account the present conditions on the market or present conditions in the transmission system. But once given out, then the capacity is not reduced unless there are some specific conditions that apply. force majeure and some other conditions. Yeah, so I hope this answered the question. So in reality, there are the capacity given to market to FTR auctions is related to the physical situation that is knowable to the transmission system operators before the auctions.
I would comment this question is actually about the firmness, and we would like to discuss this firmness topic even more detailed also on the next webinar, because there is a possibility for TSOs to use different methods. Basically, we could say that the product is fully firm, so even if there is an unplanned outage, the product is still fully firm. That is how it is currently on Latvian border. However, the regulation allows also for TSOs to cap the ultimate price difference that we pay out to market participants. And this is something that we have to discuss for the Estonian-Finnish border, as this is not this is a DC link, so there is a chance of having outage for a longer time if something happens with the cable. But those are the details, and we definitely would like to discuss it in more detail with the market participants and explain what the possibilities are. And that time is foreseen for the next webinar.
Okay, thank you, Airi. Any other questions, comments on the content of all the presentations seen already by now? Okay, it seems that I think there's one more question. It's whether or not transmission system operators get anything out of this. So it is first and foremost, it's a responsibility for transmission system operators given by the national regulatory authorities to facilitate the hedging opportunities. So the national regulators have assessed that there are no sufficient hedging opportunities in this region, and therefore the transmission system operators are obliged to introduce these products. In general, it also gives transmission system operators some, in the extent of the financial transmission rights, it limits the volatility of TSO revenues from the bottleneck income. So it sort of exchanges the bottleneck income, which is volatile, to a auction price which is fixed for the duration of the particular FTR product. So whether or not this is important to a particular transmission system operator depends on the situation, but these are the impacts to transmission system operators. Depending on the auction prices of the FTRs, transmission system operators may win or lose from compared to the bottleneck income, and this on a long run, in the long run, and in a efficient FTR's market, this should even out and be a zero-sum game to transmission system operators. So these are the main impacts. The main reason to introduce this is the lack of hedging opportunities for the market participants and enable hedging for them. Okay, any other? Juha?
I would like to thank all the speakers for your contribution, and also special thank for Elering to help us to organize the meeting and to collect all the Estonian speakers to the
Juha, you're a bit early with your thank you. I will still.
You are still. Okay.
I will still give a couple of slides on the TSO's next steps, but thank you for your thanks. So if there's no other questions, then I will go forward with the final topic, which is the planned next steps from the transmission system operator's side on the implementation of the FTRs on Finnish-Estonian border. So as was mentioned by Karin in her presentation, we have received a response from Acer to our legal uncertainties related to introduction of the FTRs. And from Elering and Fingrid side, we have evaluated the Acer response, and based on the response, we have put together a timeline for the project. So in fact, we have developed two timelines. One is sort of a standard scenario, which is based on the time. Which is based on the time that is possible, or time that is possible for the regulators to take for the approval of the methodologies. So based on the maximum time, this approval process can take, with an important note that this does not take into account any back and forth between the transmission system operators and the regulators, which may also happen and has happened in the past, that things take more time. And then we have put together a fast scenario that is constructed in a way that, or in keeping in mind that we would like to issue FTRs on this border already for the yearly product 2023. And this fast scenario means that not all approval times from the legislation can be accommodated. So some of the approvals need to come faster than provided in the legislation. And from immediate next step from the transmission system operator's side is to start public consultation on two methodologies. One is the Baltic regional design for the financial transmission rights, and the other is a regional annex to the harmonized allocation rules. But I have here the timelines as well. This is a bit detailed to go through here fully. We will provide the slides and you can go into details, but on a general level, we have certain tasks. The tasks are first these two methodologies that I mentioned, which we will put on public consultation as soon as possible. And then we will develop an agreement between Elering and Fingrid, which sets out the details of the FTRs in terms of capacity provided and splitting of the capacity to products and also the risk management. And then there are the European methodologies that do not apply to Fingrid or Finland right now, but need to apply also to in Finland, which need to go through all DSO's decision process and also then be approved by Acer. And then there are some tasks for Fingrid to join the single allocation platform, and we will keep you the stakeholders involved throughout the process through workshops similar to today's. Today's workshop was the first one. The next one we plan to hold during the public consultation period of the two methodologies, of the two regional methodologies, meaning the regional design and the harmonized allocation rule regional annex. And then we can go into a bit more details in these matters relevant for these methodologies. And then in these two columns we have the main difference between the standard scenario and the fast scenario is then the approval process by regulators, by national regulators, and also Acer. So the legal allowed time is for these decisions is 6 months, and this would lead us to products issued somewhere in 2023. And then we have made the fast scenario, which we from Elering side would hope to reach, which would unfortunately give NRAs and Acer less time for decision making. And again, I emphasize that these times do not take into account the possible back and forth or amendment needs to the methodologies. Okay, this is perhaps shortly regarding the timeline we have planned, or how we plan to move with this process. Any questions on these next actions by transmission system operators and on the timeline? So there's a question, is it possible to start the process of Fingrid joining, I assume, JAO early? And the update from regulators was that joining JAO can take 5 months. So joining JAO should be quicker than 5 months, and to my understanding, Fingrid has already taken first steps towards joining or becoming the participant on the single allocation platform. And then maybe from Fingrid side there are any additional comments, but this to my understanding, or we are making best efforts here and start this process as soon as possible, but we don't see this as the main bottleneck. We at least today I believe the main challenges are with the approvals of the methodologies. And thanks to Andres for good wishes. This plan is produced by both Elering and Fingrid, So there, I don't know if Ingrid wants to give any comments on the timeline.
Yeah, perhaps this is Satu Viljanen from Fingrid. Perhaps I can just confirm what Erkki said, that indeed this is a joint plan that both Fingrid and Ellering have drafted together. And then to the question about YAO, that is also correct, that we have initiated the process for joining YAO, and that does not need to wait for any NRA approvals starting or becoming a member there. So this is work ongoing from our side as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Satu. Okay, and if there are at the moment no more questions, then our contacts. If you have any questions or come up with any questions or comments, please let us know. And our contacts are on the screen. Thank you for participating, and also now word to Juha.
Yes, so maybe I can now continue with my thanks. First, it was the thanks for all the presentators and for Ellering to help us to organize the meeting, and especially for me, the presentation from Marko Alikson was very concrete and clear. It helped me to understand the situation, and I would like to continue the discussion about FTRs, especially internally in Finland, between Fingrid and the market participants.
Okay, thank you, Juha. Also from my side, thanks to everybody, all the presenters today. I think it gave us some knowledge and concrete examples on the workings of FTRs. So thank you very much. And if there's no more quick questions or comments, then I would close this meeting and see you in the next webinar. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.